Let's go!
It's crazy to see the sort of like revolution that's happening right now, and what, even for like an old game, Rollback Netcode, experiencing good online for a game can do. And I'm gonna echo so much of my last 10 years of making content for fighting games. I've barely played any Guilty Gear Accent-Core+R, but I want to go back and learn characters. No, one, just because Guilty Gear characters are fun to learn. And two, like, the most infuriating thing in the world for me, the thing that gets me more pissed off, and I'm able to identify it, and I can't control it, like Phoenix breaking that level 5, I can't control it, is dealing with delay-based netcode, or dealing with games that have poor delay-based netcode that has never worked well. It bugs the shit out of me. And in every single game, there's like, I get PTSD from launch, MKX, Dragon Ball FighterZ dealing with like Super Dash Online at launch, and especially UMVC3. I hate it, man. It'll make me like, to the point of which I absolutely despise Marvel 3 because of its online experience. A game that like largely is responsible for, you know, a huge part of the growth of my channel. For many years, I just hated that game because I can't, my only way to reliably play it is, you know, through an online connection. And before Parsec and things, like, that game is the worst. Just the absolute worst. And that was one of the reasons why, obviously, we stopped making Assist Me. And I stopped making a lot of games for, or movies and, you know, videos for the game. I just can't help it. I've been dealing with delay-based netcode and it running like total trash since the original Xbox. And there has never been a thing that gets me more pissed off than trying to do combos or trying to do stuff that you've labbed and having it flip around, right? Having the delay go from like 3 to 4 to 6 to 4 to 2 to 3 to 5 to 8. Like, oh my God. Yeah, it literally puts white hairs on my head. That's one of the reasons why I had to take such a big break from Dragon Ball FighterZ, especially when the game was like, obviously I didn't have my characters, but coming back to it and like really trying. I'm popping off on delay-based netcode. I am, but the thing is, it's not that delay-based netcode has to be bad, right? It's just that devs choose for it to be bad. And Parsec is like the best example of that, because you can still have delay-based netcode and not have it run as poorly as these companies choose to do it. Like, that's the worst part, is that the most frustrating aspect of delay-based netcode is the variance. The fact that it's going to go from a certain delay and it's going to flip-flop throughout the entire match. And that feeling is the fucking most frustrating shit in the world. Power Rangers is great. There's a reason why I've constantly gone back to Power Rangers every time there's an update, anytime there's some new shit for the game. Because I don't mind playing it online. I don't mind jumping back into Power Rangers and getting, like, ass blasted by, like, the best dudes that have been playing that game consistently. And it's like, fuck, man, this game has evolved crazy. But when you're in a situation where the netcode's good, it's hard to get pissed off at that, because you can't as much blame the fact that, oh, your inputs aren't delayed like crazy. Yeah, KOF 13 was, like, on the border, where we played, like, a little bit of KOF 13, but it's like, I know if I try to play this more, I'm going to run into these problems, and it's going to become more frustrating and shit like that, because I've been through it for 15 years. 15 plus years. I'm so glad that Parsec came along, you know, and actually made us realize, like, that this shit doesn't have to be bad. It's actually able to make this shit good. So, and Parsec, all it does is that, oh, if you're going to have a delay, it's going to be the same shit, right? I'm going to tell you right now, any of the fighting games that I frequent on this channel, right? Any of the fighting games that I come back to play sort of consistently over the past like 5-6 years that, you know, we've been streaming, almost 7 years that we've been streaming, you'll notice that all the consistent games that we come back and play are games that have good online. They're all games that have rollback netcode, you know? They're all games that at least have a foundation where the online experience isn't compromised by a shit ton of delay. That's once again a whole nother thing. And that's what's amazing about fucking watching a lot of people playing Accent-Core+R right now, is that you get people that have never really played Guilty Gear. You have all these folks that are suddenly just playing Guilty Gear and just playing it daily and then coming back and then coming back and coming back, which is super cool. You know why? Because learning a fighting game that has better online is so much easier than learning one that has shit online. It's so much easier to learn matchups, to react to things, to do stuff with your character in a way that benefits you, you know, over time. Dude, I can't even tell you for how many fucking years I played Marble 3 and I didn't feel like I was getting any fucking better because I was dealing with this horrible looming input delay at all times. And the horrible threat of X Factor along with it. That doesn't mean that you can't get good at it, right? I mean, granted, you've seen some of the best players in the world have played shit online, and in a terrible online environment are able to make the most ridiculous things happen. But those it takes so many thousands of matches, right? So many absolute thousands of games played to make the adjustment on the fly, right? And that's like, once again, that's another matchup that you're sort of going to have to learn in the long run. That's a matchup that's going to just, if you're going to stick with one game, it's probably going to work out pretty well. But if you're going to play a variety of fighting games where, like, we have perspective, I find myself enjoying fighting games even more now that I play a lot of different ones, even though I don't have a chance to actually get good at any of them, you know? Last time I was ever actually decent at a fighting game was Season 1 of KI and maybe a little bit of the beginning of MVCI. But that's because I really loved those games and I really wanted to get good at them. And their online complemented that, you know? Like, having that experience run well made it so that you can react to shit. You can actually learn matchups on the fly. You can, you know, make adjustments mid-match without worrying like, oh fuck, can I jump this? I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy to see people jumping on to Guilty Gear and their delay is like, yo, 250 ms. And I'm like, motherfucker, 250 ms. In a delay-based netcode fighting game, 250 milliseconds would be nearly 15 frames of lag. We're talking 15, like anywhere in between, because it is going to vary, anywhere in between 10 to 15 frames of input delay. And for anyone that's played Dragon Ball, you know exactly what that shit feels like. But when you fire up Guilty Gear Accent Core, a game that has selectable input delay for its online, a game that, you know, other fighting games actually do it for you. Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, like these games actually have pre-baked in delay that compensate for the fact that it has rollback netcode. But the new Guilty Gear patch is like, yo, 250 ms, 2 frames. It's like, what? Like, 250 ms is like my ass pinging West Coast, maybe to like Europe. West Coast to Europe might be 250 ms. If we, you know, maybe not both of us have fiber. I'm being super generous, right? It'd probably be way further, like maybe way further out. And rollback netcode is like, that'll cost you 2 frames of input delay for us to compensate for this this amount of delay. I don't think people realize the moment that I played Mo, who was a community member at KI, when I'm like, this dude is in the Middle East. I'm playing him from Dubai. And I'm in California. It's almost the furthest distance we could possibly go around the planet. And I could still break mediums on reaction. Like, there was a little bit of stuttering here and there, right? But the whole thing was that on his end, there's a little bit of stuttering because the rollback's going to be kicking in. On his end, his inputs weren't delayed. So anything he was looking at from him was he was still able to do. Anything he was reacting to or I was reacting to was completely functional. Would I have probably been able to react to lights? Maybe not, right? Because lights are like 13, 14 frames on some characters in KI. So all I'm saying is that it's amazing to see a community that I've had barely anything to do with, like the Guilty Gear community, has constantly been put under a struggle of their online games performing terribly for a long time. From, you know, the original Accent Core +R that we did a fucking review on the channel. We played this game when it came out on Xbox 360 way back in the day. And I was like, the netcode just sucks. Like, the online for this shit is not good. It was terrible. It was just terrible. To see the community, like, realizing that from people, like, overseas, you get Japanese players that... It's obviously a game that everyone knows, you know? Not everyone. Like, there's a lot of people playing it that are new about it, but holy shit, dude, like, this is a fighting game that's been played for 15 years almost, I think. It's had some time to sit in the community and for people to figure this shit out, and for them to go online and suddenly able to do all the shit that they've been doing for the past 10 years and not have it run like total shite. You get these like Japanese players that are like, this is revolutionary. Like I was reading one impression saying, thinks this is revolutionary because they can actually play people overseas now. We can play people in other countries. This is kind of crazy. We hope this carries on. And all these other Guilty Gear players that are specifically like from Japan, which is a pretty big Guilty Gear location around the world, a very popular arcade fighting game for a long time. Everyone's playing it now. So all of a sudden, like, there's consistently 1,500 to 2,000 people playing this old-ass fighting game. And now everyone is also interested in it because the experience has changed, right? You can actually do the things you would like to do, and you can learn in an environment where it doesn't totally suck ass. That's the most important part. Damn, dude, I can't stand the learning process. The only thing that really keeps me along for the learning process of a fighting game is if I really enjoy the mechanics or the characters or something like that. But if it has delay-based netcode, it's difficult to keep me invested for a long time. Granted, I'll come back and check shit out. I really liked MKX when it came out. I enjoyed it, and I was willing to put up with its terrible online because I was having fun. But within, you know, 8 months of the game being out, they changed that shit. Suddenly, the online was different. Jump from 32 players to 1.3? Well, there's... Rollback netcode will bring communities together. For example, in a game like Accent Core, like, we're gonna go online and get ass blasted tonight. Like, literally, like, with a super soaker. Because the game has been out for 10 years, and people are fucking super good at the game. Similar to most Guilty Gears, and a lot of anime games, a lot of people play like one game. But when you introduce a game that has a huge player base and they're now able to share what's exciting about that game and you actually get to experience that without it feeling like total shit online, it gets other people excited to think like, hey, what have I been missing, right? What the hell, what's this game all about? Why have so many people been playing this shit? That's cool. Like, that's the shit I've been wanting for almost 20 years! You know, ever since we learned that there was going to be online for CVS2 and on consoles and shit like that. As soon as we learned that shit was going to happen, it's just neat to see that. I'm literally going to try to learn how to play, at least mechanically, what can Order Sol do, right? What should I do with the character? What should the nooch be? And what are some basic B&Bs? And how the hell does this meter shit even work? I'll at least get to try to learn it in an environment that isn't completely compromised. It's weird how if you just change that little bit, right? If you just change that one aspect of the game, it's cool to see. It's just cool to see a community. It's cool to see a dead game come back from nothing. As someone that has done my best to champion like old dead fighting games and show how cool some of the stuff in the old games are, despite my like knowledge and discovery of old stuff, the experience won't be compromised. Like there's that wonderful fucking like that wonderful feeling that so many players get. And this is what, damn dude, this is what I hope happens to Strive. Like this is what I truly hope. What I truly hope Strive enables when it comes out.